in a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad, you'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Hey, all you beautiful movie-loving people out there, live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert.
Take control. Take control. Take control of your podcast. Now is not the time for fear. That comes later. Now is the time for Movies Merica podcast. Take it away, Van.
Thank you, Bane. Thank you, Bane. Hey, just like the man said, hey, welcome to Movies Merica. You know what? Hey, I wouldn't want to cross Bane, so I am just going to sit here and do what I'm told, because this crazy guy in a mask is staring down at me, threatening to break my neck if I don't continue on. So, hey, I got to do what I got to do. You know, I got to bring this review to you of our last chapter in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
I present to you The Dark Knight Rises.
There's a storm coming.
You sound like you're looking forward to it.
I'm adaptable.
What are you?
I'm Gotham's reckoning.
Did they kill him?
I'm not sure.
Why didn't you just kill me?
Your punishment must be more severe.
Do you think he's coming back?
I don't know. Why would you run, Bane?
You should be as afraid of him as I am.
I won't bury you. I've buried enough members of the Wayne family.
You don't owe these people anymore. You've given them everything.
Not everything. Not yet.
My mother warned me about getting into cars with strange men.
This isn't a car.
Holy George Clooney bat nipples, Batman! George Clooney, Batman and Robin, this movie ain't. Yes. So, hey, let's take care of some crucial factoids before we get into the actual review. And, of course, as many of you probably know already, this podcast is on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many other assorted platforms here on Al Gore's worldwide interweb and on your phone. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, feel free to give it a 5-star rating. I hereby give you authorization. You have the green light to give it a 5-star rating. I know, you guys. I'm sure you guys have all been chomping at the bit to give me a 5-star rating, and I've just been waiting to be given permission to do that very thing. Well, I'm giving it to you. Go crazy. Do it. All the cool kids are doing it. Yes, first one's free. And also, you feel free to review it there as well. And if you want to just give it a nice, short review, like, hey, this guy is fantastic, or this guy is a fraud and he should be banned from the internet. Either one works. They're both very short reviews, but they work. They count as a review. And then also, feel free to follow the show on Apple Podcasts. I'm sure on Google Podcasts there's a follow the show or subscribe to the show option there where it just automatically downloads episodes. Also, I'm on moviesmerica.com. All these episodes are on moviesmerica.com. And I'm also on Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica. Yes, out there on the internets, that social media, just trying to communicate and commiserate with all my brothers and sisters on the social media. And so I put on posts out there. And also, if you want to respond to any of my posts or, DM me on there, that's cool as well. And, with this podcast, I do talk about new movies and old movies. In the last 3 weeks, since it's been kind of a slow movie season, I've been doing older movies here, the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. And so, but the older movies, there's gonna be spoilers, because you've had long enough to watch these movies. I'm doing that on. And new movies, I don't do any spoilers. Also, typically I do drink, down a beer, because I like to, combine my two of my loves, watching movies and drinking beers. And so, but this episode I'm not going to be drinking a beer because I'm still doing that 75 Hard fitness program where one of the rules for 75 days is no boozeroni. Yep. I am booze free, and yep, it's tough. It's a hassle, but hey, it's it's all for a good cause. But before long, I will be chugging some beers on here before you know it. All right, okay, so. Enough of all those factoids and all that housekeeping. Let's get right into The Dark Knight Rises. Yes, Dark Knight Rises, as I said before, and as I'm sure you all well know, this is the final chapter in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. And it's, unfortunately, it had the timing. It was a victim of having to come after a masterpiece like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was just such a pop culture icon, such a pop culture phenomenon. And unless you had like God himself making a movie, any movie that came after The Dark Knight in this trilogy was bound not to be good. As The Dark Knight. And so that's the double-edged sword of having such a great movie like The Dark Knight. Everyone is going to not just be expecting, but be demanding a better movie come out after this. And if it's even one iota not as good, then there's going to be a large swath of moviegoers are going to be like, they're not just going to be like, well, it wasn't as good as The Dark Knight, but it was good. It was good. No. I mean, you're going to have some people that are like that, like me, but you have a whole swath of people that are just like, no, it wasn't that it wasn't as good as The Dark Knight. It was terrible. Oh, I hate this movie. It is so terrible. Oh my God. All the plot holes. Oh, all the unbelievable stuff here. I mean, I can't believe that a comic book movie isn't the pinnacle of reality. I mean, I can't believe a comic book movie isn't practically a documentary. It's, oh man, nobody told me. People, it's a movie with a guy who dresses up as a bat, who flies around with a bat pod and has a Batmobile, and fights criminals like the Joker and Bane. I mean, it's not the Discovery Channel, people. Okay, this is not the History Channel. There are going to be some unrealities in these movies here. But for some reason with The Dark Knight Rises, all these critics decided to start nitpicking all the plot holes as if The Dark Knight didn't have any plot holes in it. It's like explain to me how the Joker walks out of a hospital right before it explodes after he's been talking to Harvey Dent, and he's just walking out of the hospital by himself. Like, nobody else is coming out. Like, he was just talking to Harvey Dent. He had to get Harvey Dent out of the hospital before it blew up. Wouldn't Harvey Dent be, like, running out of the hospital after him, like trying to shoot him or trying to kill him? Because in The Dark Knight, they don't establish that the Joker's thugs, like, got Harvey Dent out. No. The insinuation is he just unlocked Harvey Dent, and Harvey Dent just got out of the hospital. How is it that Joker walks out of the hospital, out of the hospital by himself with no Harvey Dent, like, chasing him down? See, that's what I'm saying. Plot holes. The Dark Knight was not the picture of perfection. So that's how I know that there's this weird phenomenon that just because The Dark Knight Rises didn't win the gold medal on the Dark Knight Trilogy platform, and it got the silver medal, instead, that The Dark Knight Rises, it simply can't be it's just not as good as The Dark Knight. It's terrible. It's a cinematic abortion. It's terrible. It's the worst movie ever. And I know, I get it. I mean, I know that there's a lot of, movie critics out there that, say that about The Dark Knight Rises simply because they're trying to sound edgy and trying to sound tough, They're trying to sound like, like they're, discerning movie critics, and, and it's all fake. I know they're kind of lame that way, but and again, it's okay to not like The Dark Knight Rises. I'm not expecting everyone to like The Dark Knight Rises, but when it's not simply it's just it's not as good as The Dark Knight. It is what it is. Instead of that, it's I hate The Dark Knight. I hated it. That's when they go to the hate. That's how I know that. Yeah, they just. I think a lot. I think, and this is with a lot of movie critics. I think that there's a lot of moviegoers and movie critics in particular that think if you love another movie, you're not allowed to love. You're not even allowed to like another movie. Like if you love a movie, then that means you have to hate any movie that's even anywhere near the same subject matter, or especially if it's in the same trilogy. And it's like, nope. That's not correct. That's a dangerous way to just live life, but also it's a dangerous way to, be a movie fan. And you can like and love 2 things, 3 things, 4 things. Matter of fact, you can like and love a lot of things. It's not a zero-sum game, people. So anyway, enough about that right there. But I just thought I would throw that out there and make mention of that, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that has seen this. Where you see what people think about The Dark Knight Rises, and you're like, wow, that is just just one thing I've noticed is like, it's there's no middle ground. It's just straight to the hate for The Dark Knight Rises. And I would be remiss if I didn't, say something about that. But hey, let's talk about the actual movie. Hey, go figure, right? Let's talk about the actual movie, right? So this movie picks up 8 years later from the events of the end of The Dark Knight, and before The Dark Knight Rises came out, a lot of people were theorizing like, maybe they didn't kill off, Two-Face Harvey Dent. Well, the very opening scene of this movie, they don't waste any time. They tell you right then and there, yep, Harvey Dent, he did. And, so mystery has, is ended. And then it cuts back, to, I don't know, it looks like Scotland or something like that is where we first meet Bane's character and Dr. Pavel, and the movie starts off with an epic action scene with Bane taking over a CIA plane. We got none other than Aidan Gillen from Game of Thrones. Played Littlefinger from Game of Thrones as a head CIA operative, and he's it's like if I take off that mask, will you die? That guy right there. It's like and he's just playing the head CIA guy that's trying to intimidate Bane, and little does he know that being captured is all part of Bane's plan. So and then all chaos ensues from there after Bane puts into play his plan.
No! They expect one of us in the wreckage, brother.
Have we started the fire?
Yes. The fire rises. Calm down, Doctor. Now is not the time for fear. That comes later.
That fire rises phrase that Bane says right there is actually a direct phrase from Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities that if you read up on this movie at all, you'll find out that that is a major influence on The Dark Knight Rises. And also there's the scene where Bane is at the kangaroo court and where you got Scarecrow as the judge of this kangaroo court, and they show Bane and he's kind of knitting as he's taking on or spectating the trial. And that knitting that he's doing, that is directly also from A Tale of Two Cities. There's a character in A Tale of Two Cities that knits while she watches public executions as part of the French Revolution there. That's what Tale of Two Cities is. That's the backdrop of A Tale of Two Cities. So that's kind of another callback to the Charles Dickens classic there. But yeah, this movie, has a lot of Bane in it, and he is actually the most formidable, most physically imposing villain that we've seen Batman go up against in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. And he does get a lot of trash from a lot of movie viewers about his voice and how they can't understand him. And actually, even though I could understand him, I couldn't understand every single thing he was saying, but I got the general gist of what he was trying to say. But it kind of pales in comparison to a lot of Christopher Nolan movies where you really have to have the subtitles on, and that's for people that aren't. That's for characters that aren't Bane. That's just normal people talking, and that's because Christopher Nolan is famous for wanting the background noise of scenes to overpower the dialogue. I don't know why he does that. Everything else in his movies, he seems to be on top of his game. But with that, it makes it sound like it's intentional. So at least it's not a situation, where he's inept. He's doing that on purpose. And apparently he wants you to use your subtitles a whole lot. But so after that scene with Bane, then you go to Gotham, and you quickly find out that Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne has been holed up in Wayne Manor for 8 years, which I think that's a pretty good way of pinpointing the people that, okay, I think Bruce Wayne is Batman, because Batman's been gone. We haven't seen him for 8 years, and we also haven't seen Bruce Wayne for 8 years. That's one of the plot holes in this movie here. But again, other Batman movies have plot holes as well. Other plot holes would be like, we haven't really gone into them yet, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing John Blake in this movie, and this, the screenwriters, Christopher Nolan and then his brother Jonathan Nolan, would have you believe that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character knows who Batman is. He knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman simply by looking at his face. That I didn't buy. They should have done some better writing on that one right there. But anyway, so Bruce Wayne, yes, he is holed up in Wayne Manor for 8 years after, because you can't go out there as Batman again. I mean, because otherwise the cops would have to chase down Batman, and Batman gets to be the villain and protect Harvey Dent's good reputation, and the Dent Act can stay in place to be used to take down all the criminal scumbags and nail them for their crimes and keep them in jail, as in Blackgate Prison. Blackgate Prison, again, another reference to A Tale of Two Cities. That's the prison that's in the Bastille in A Tale of Two Cities. But so yeah, this are you getting the impression that this movie was inspired a lot by A Tale of Two Cities? Yeah, a lot. But so then we run into Catwoman, played by Anne Hathaway, which I think she does a decent job in this movie. A lot of moviegoers are like, the best thing they have to say about Anne Hathaway as Catwoman is, she's Catwoman. They're kind of indifferent. But yeah, I like her. I think that she's got a mischievous, she does a very good job at play acting and having the duality of the helpless female, but she's really someone who can hold her own and kicks a lot of butt and is very intelligent. And no other scene encapsulates that, like when she's in the bar and she's giving up the fingerprints to the bad guys, and the chaos ensues, the big fight happens, the big gunfight happens, and she's pretending just to be this panicky, screaming chick that just got caught in the crossfire in the bar, to put on a front for the cops so that she can escape. Like a scene like that, I think Anne Hathaway plays the duality pretty well between Catwoman and pretending she's like just some helpless, screaming female. So I thought she did a pretty good job as Catwoman. But so then Batman, Bruce Wayne, is made aware that there is a large threat that is on the horizon after Catwoman steals his fingerprints off his safe. And he's of course, Batman is wondering, okay, what is going on with this, my fingerprints? Like, something's about to go down. I better actually, get up, off my butt and stop wandering around Wayne Manor like I'm Howard Hughes and throw on the Batman cowl and cape again. And so 45 minutes into the movie, you finally see Batman in all his glory make an appearance. And I got to say that scene when he comes back and they show him on his Bat Pod, and it's all on, Gotham TV, and, it's this big return, like Batman returns after 8 years. And then the Hans Zimmer score, it's a cool scene. You're like, I remember I was like, yeah, all right, he's back, and I thought that they did it pretty well. I liked, a lot of people complain that you don't see Batman, for 45 minutes in this movie, but I looked at it as like anticipation time, as I think it really helped pay off that return scene, and of course the cops start chasing him down. And you got Matthew Modine playing the assistant police commissioner or something like that. Matthew Modine from back in the day, from Vision Quest and Full Metal Jacket. And then then you see the Bane comes in and becomes more of a formidable force. He starts making moves amongst Gotham, and finally makes his big reveal when he does takes on Batman right before Bane does this big introduction to Gotham, where he's blowing up the bridges and he's blowing up the football field. Poor football players, man, I tell you, wrong place, wrong time, huh? But before that all goes down, obviously Bane and Batman have their big showdown after Catwoman double crosses Batman. And that first Bane fight, Bane versus Batman fight, I couldn't help but think that, okay, what happened to all those bats? What happened to that device from Batman Begins where all Batman had to do was like hit the button and all this big swarm of bats shows up? That would have come in really handy in that first fight against Bane. It could have had all those bats swarm Bane and Batman could have kicked his butt. But for the purpose of the plot, you have to have Bane, break his back and break Batman's back and get that into the movie. And that's based off of a comic book plot there too, where Bane does that in the comics, breaks his back and actually sends him off to this prison. And in Dark Knight Rises, the prison is this hole in the ground there. Where I would guess it's probably like Morocco or something like that. That's because the music in the background, the chant that you hear in the music while they're in the pit is Moroccan, is what it is. So I'm assuming that probably they mean for this pit prison to be in Morocco. And you might hear this pit referred to as the Lazarus Pit in the comic books, but in this movie, it's simply just this prison where you can see the sky, the sun's shining through. There's no guards, but it's this pit that you have to climb up the walls, and no one's been able to escape except for one person. And the prison is built that way to give people hope, like, oh, I have hope maybe of escaping this prison, but you really don't. And most people don't. But so Bane throws Batman there. Batman obviously escapes, and Bane, has already unleashed his plan to, give Gotham false hope that, hey, you know what? You can, take back the city. All these rich people are living the high life, and you have-nots, you guys are suffering while the rich people are living it up. The eat the rich thing. That's and Bane plays that like he's this eat the rich, ideologue activist. And in that way, Bane is actually the opposite of a movie villain like, say, Hans Gruber in Die Hard. If you remember in Die Hard, Hans Gruber, he played like they're terrorists, while all the time they were basically just bank robbers, right? They were just thieves. And Bane does the exact opposite. He plays like he's an idealist / activist, while later on reveal like he's nothing but a terrorist. So he's the complete inverse of Hans Gruber in Die Hard. So so the movie proceeds on, and of course Batman saves the day, and you do get your other characters in the movie. Christian Bale, I have to say that Christian Bale did a more nuanced, more emotionally in-depth portrayal of Bruce Wayne in this movie. So, in the beginning when he's the Howard Hughes figure, being a recluse, no one sees him. He does a good job of really emoting how he's this broken man. He's, obviously when he was a kid, he lost his parents. Then he found the woman that, he wanted to spend the rest of his life with in The Dark Knight. Joker blows her up, and he has to stay. He just doesn't feel like going on with life, and he realizes Gotham doesn't really need him anymore. But he also doesn't use that as an opportunity to move on with his life, maybe meet somebody else, and live a life. He's just he's in neutral, and of course Michael Caine, the great Michael Caine, as Alfred points that out to him, and wants him to get on with his life, but yeah, and then you got Gary Oldman doing he's doing his fantastic job as Commissioner Gordon, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt as John Blake's a new character. It seems like half the cast of Inception, Christopher Nolan's movie he did before this, all shows up in The Dark Knight Rises. Got Marion Cotillard as Miranda Tate / Talia al Ghul, Tom Hardy as Bane, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, all from Inception. And then, of course, Michael Caine was in Inception as well. But, yeah, check out, this movie. I say check out this movie, but I'm sure most folks that are listening to this podcast have already seen the movie. But yeah, I just don't think it deserves the bad rap that it gets. I think it's actually the second best movie in the Dark Knight trilogy, and I think people just nitpick, about it because it's simply not the Dark Knight. So they think to love the Dark Knight is to hate the Dark Knight Rises. So I just want to thank everyone for listening to the last 3 weeks here of going through the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. I love these movies, and I was bound to get to these movies with Movies Merica podcast, and I'm sure we'll revisit some other Christopher Nolan movies down the road. But with that, as always, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Movies Merica podcast, and check me out on Instagram and Twitter, and make sure to give this a 5-star rating, please, on Apple Podcasts. Give it a review, and remember, people, get out there. Those movies aren't going to watch themselves. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the Popo. They're coming after me, and I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video right here, down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting. It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here too. You'll be doing me a big favor. I'll be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right. Thanks for watching.